What is Boom Bap Nation? It's the story in here for an album review. This one's going to be a little bit different. As you know, generally I dabble in the boom bap genre of hip hop, uh, but I still keep an ear to the street and listen to a lot of stuff in the Bay Area, um, particularly the 209, the 209. So we're going to take this to Newman, California. That's from in California, and this is an MC that I've been following for a while, and it's primarily through Shimo Media. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Shimo Media. So if those that don't know, it's a YouTube platform. I'm sure they're probably out there on some other platforms as well. I think there's even like Shimo TV, but essentially it and I don't know this for a fact. This is just kind of my understanding from watching. It brings in a lot of MCs from essentially the Bay Area. It's a lot of ciphers, a lot of music videos, um, and I think it's primarily to bring a spotlight on the independent rap scene that is going out through not just the Bay Area but Central California, and potentially other areas of California as well. There's a plethora of MCs, and many type. And what's really interesting is a lot of different styles that all connect on Shimo. And what's interesting is I first came across this artist. So this is X4Migz out of Newman, California, who finally, because I've been wanting one, I've seen the videos. On Shimo. I've seen it on his YouTube page, which I think it's not as up to date. But I've seen a lot of the singles and videos. And for me, I'm more of an album person, right? Can you do it for an album? So finally, and I missed it when it got released, but finally, as I was checking out iTunes, I found this album, X4Migz, Thuggin Past Death. And this album was released on May 1st of 2026. And this is everything that I expected this album to be. Now, when you look at this album and you compare it to a lot of the stuff that generally I review, again, I'm open to all sorts of different genres in the hip hop rap scene. What I found interesting about Migz, though, lyrically, I think, he holds his own and he is dope. Now, is it fair to compare Migz to a lot of the MCs that you see in a review? Lyrically, they're just very, very different. This is more, I think, personal and what he has experienced or what he's going through or has gone through. For him personally, and that's always going to be a good angle to come from when you're creating music, because this is what you've experienced, and only person who can speak to that is you as an individual with your heart and with your words. And I think that's what separates his music and what really brought me to his music initially. The other thing that brought me to his music, sorry, my hood's just fucking me up. The other thing that really brought me to his music is, aside from lyrics, I enjoy the technique of flow, and there's just something about Migz that I just enjoy the flow. He's so young and so much time to grow, and I hope, and I shouldn't say I hope. I think with time, lyrically, it's going to continue to grow. I don't think there's much growth to come from the flow, because really, he seems to do it effortlessly. Now, in an interview, it doesn't seem like he's been rapping for all that long, which is even more impressive. So, the artist that it's very similar to, and I say this to only to give you a perspective on Migz, it reminds me of G Perico. What brought me to Perico was the flow. It was unique. It was his own. There's nobody that has a flow like Perico. You probably could put False Doctrine Killer in there. Just flow alone. Bishop Snow is probably another dude that it just has a flow of his own. And I think the same thing with Migz. If you ever hear a cipher, when he comes on, you just know exactly who it is. Sometimes people sound the same, There isn't, and it's crazy how effortlessly he just glides in and out of the music and the beats, and I just that's what impressed me the most. So I was very, I don't, I hate to use the word excited, but I was excited to finally see an album because I've been wondering if an album's going to come. And here it is on May 1st, although I didn't get to it till July. He releases his first ever, what I believe, album, Thuggin Past Death. A lot of these feature the videos that I've seen previously. I admit I didn't watch all the videos. I watched a handful. But this album is everything I expected. So thinking about my NZ, starts off with the first track, track 2, Warzone, 3, Ain't Make It, featuring 12 Let Up Pop, one of the standout tracks on the album. 4, I believe there's a video for that one, Right Hand. 5, Came From Nothing, featuring Young Iggs, another standout. Track 6 is Forever, which really stood out because I don't know if there's a video, but I remember a video where he had a shirt on, which was really dope, and it had the 4 and Ever below it. So I don't know if that was the video. I think he was wearing that in a different video, but it was that shirt. That's what caught me into that one. 7 is Young and Dumb. 8 is 2K, featuring Top HB3Z. Drop a Low Freestyle. 10 is Used to Be, featuring Chugs DeLoke. Shout out to Chugs DeLoke. I'm going to have to get into that because after seeing this, or hearing this track, I did come across some of his music. So hopefully I can get into it here shortly. I got a lot of shit that I'm trying to get into. 11 is Missing Pops, which he mentioned in the interview and talked about, I believe, his father, his dad. So I would imagine that's where that track is going towards. And it sounds like, even though it wasn't really around much, that was the influence in some of it pursuing a music career. And hopefully it just continues to do it, because with that, I think over time, all the skills will develop. 12 is Throwback, which I also enjoy that track. 13 is Product. 14 is Slipping Out Reality, featuring Little Nate the Goer, I believe is what it is. And 15, really enjoyed it as well, Crickets. I thought this is an absolutely fantastic album from Migz. This is an album that I was anticipating to come out. I'm glad it did. I got to it late. So shout out to Migz for putting out this album, because it's something that I was thinking about while checking out some of the singles through Shimo Media and so forth, or at least the videos, some of the ciphers, and that goes for a lot of the MCs on there too. And maybe many have dropped albums. So for those out there that have a connection, not just to Migz, but others through Shimo as well, if you push out some links and so forth of some albums that may have been released primarily in 2026, I'll definitely do my best to get into those albums. But shout out to X4Migz, Thuggin Past Death. My overall rating for this album is 3.5 mics. I think it's a solid rating. Listen, if you like the technical side of rhyming, I think from a flow perspective, this is one that hopefully folks out there really check out. I think there's a unique flow, and he's one of those MCs that breezes over it effortlessly, and I think that's what makes this a high quality album for myself. So 3.5 mics, shout out X4Migz, Newman, California. Again, any links out there, send them to me for any artists associated with Shimo that have some albums, particularly from 2026, and I will try my best to hit those up. All right, I'm going to tag the links in here for everything that I can. And other than that, stay tuned. More to come.